Magicka Warden 2.0. I just did some upgrades to this. I finally got full divine on all my gears, and I also picked up a monster set. So I wanted to update my build and show you this one that I have currently going on. I'm really happy with this build. This one's really nice. But if you haven't seen the other build, I'll leave a link in the description and also probably be popping up on the right side. But let's get into this one. I'm gonna show you the gear that I'm running. So I'm using the Molag Kennas. I'm using this set. I really like this set because it's not one of those like proc sets. I know a lot of people are really into the whole proc set thing, but for me, I really don't like it that much because I don't like chance, especially when it's really low chance for it to happen. I feel like it's not really that good in PvE. Maybe in PvP it's better, but as far as PvE, I prefer to have something that's guaranteed, and this gives you a guaranteed proc, which is doing 2 consecutive light attacks. So that means doing 2 light attacks back to back. You'll get the buff of giving you almost 500 to weapon damage. So that is really nice. I like that a lot. You're also getting weapon damage from the set itself, so it's really good. And I'm using War Maiden still. The War Maiden set, this is one of those sets that you can buy on the auction house, but yeah, right now it's extremely expensive since pretty much everybody's using this in their build, mainly because that magic damage that you're getting from it. The magic damage on Warden, for example, it's not for every single skill, so you got to take that into a factor. Since my character is named spams the Cliff Racer, I had to do it because I wanted to have Cliff Racer in my build and I wanted to be able to spam the shit out of it. So that's why I went with the build I have now. I'm using spell damage on my 2 rings, and then I'm using recovery on my necklace. I decided to go with this because I felt like the mana is actually really easy to regenerate, especially when you're using Betty Netch, which the Betty Netch helps a lot in this situation. You're able to regenerate a pretty good amount of mana, so it's not really that bad to be able to maintain and still do a lot of damage. And every once in a while, if you got to do a heavy attack, it's so be it. Whatever, it's not a big deal. But I'm still working on upgrading. I'm still using a green War Maiden, so I'm gonna be upgrading that to purples. This the same with these blues. So I'm working on getting it to full purple soon. But that's another thing. I need some money for that. But I'm using a lightning staff. This is just a typical lightning staff, nothing special. But it's pulling out some really nice damage already, so I really like it a lot. Just using lightning staff mainly for my AoE tray, which you can decide on what you want to do with this. I have 2 different setups that I usually run with. Usually in PvE, I'll be running with this set because it's the easiest. It's just straightforward. You plop down your 2 AoEs, you throw the growing swarm, they're dead. Like nothing survives. And then on my second tray, I'm using Resto Staff, which I'm using Rapid Regeneration, Nature's Grasp. I like that a lot. Enchanted Growth is really good. And then my Betty Netch, of course. And then I'm running the Hardened Magicka Shield. I'm not running Magicka Shield on both trays because I don't like swapping weapons. You can do whatever you want. You can swap that out for something else. If you prefer to DPS and you don't want to heal, that's fine. I like to do this mainly for dungeon setups, just in case as like a backup healer, or I could even heal for a team primarily if I wanted to with this setup. It works both ways. But if you don't like healing, you could go ahead and throw a fire staff on there, which I'll show you the setup that I usually do with that one. So, what I do with this is, of course, I gotta use my Screaming Cliff Racer. So I'm actually gonna push out the Hardened Magicka Shield. So I'll drop that out of the tray, leave that in there. Deep Fissure is definitely the shit. That thing does so much damage. And then Growing Swarm, of course, needs to be in the tray. I love that power. Growing Swarm and Deep Fissure and also Screaming Cliff Racer. This is pretty much a PvP build right here. Now I'm gonna swap this thing out too, and I'm gonna throw in a Mage's Guild for my critical damage. So I'm increasing the critical damage and also increasing the maximum of Magicka. This, you can even drop out the healing thicket. I like to have it in the tray, but in this case, you're trying to do damage, so I would honestly change to something a little bit more damagey. So let's go with Northern Storm to increase your maximum magicka some more. So you'll be doing some crazy damage. Screaming Cliff Racer is doing base almost 9,000 damage, so that thing is sick. And when it crits, it's at least 20,000. Usually it's like 19, but I've seen it hit for like 22, 21,000. It's insane the amount of damage you could do with the Screaming Cliff Racer. And it's all thanks to my champion points, which I'll show you right now. Champion points, I am running, so we got Elfborn to 20%. This increases your critical strike damage. This is what you need for getting that crazy crit damage. I'm using some spell penetration. I haven't done a big deal into this, but I want to put more, and I also want to put this to 10% eventually. But I just didn't have enough points for that. The main thing I wanted was Master at Arms, and this thing, you put this up to at least 20%, and you'll be seeing some crazy damage with any of your direct damage abilities. That would mean your Screaming Cliff Racer. That would mean anything that does the initial damage on the attack. Like let's say you just plop down an AoE or something, for example. The first tick is what's gonna do that 20% more damage. So that's definitely needed in the build. Okay, and then on my other trees, I'm just 10% with maximum recovery, 10% with the maximum stand. This one with heavy attacks. So when you do heavy attacks, it'll give you more. I put points into this. I don't know why. I really don't care about the rest of the points. You can put whatever you want, honestly. But the most important is 10% in this and 10% in that. That's the only thing. At whatever else you want to do, you can do. And then this shield, I always put it up to 15% at least. I like doing that because the shield is definitely your lifesaver. Without the shield, pretty much you're just gonna turn to crap. And also the hardy, I use this for 10%, increase the physical resistance, and then also this one for the magical resistance. So 10% to both of those is very worth it, especially if you plan on tanking in the future, which I do all three roles with this class. So a lot of times I'll swap into my Plague Doctors and my Green Pack set, so I'll be using that. So which this one I still have to upgrade too, but everything's all work in progress. You know how gear goes; it's not a overnight kind of thing. You have to actually work for it, and making money is the biggest thing, at least to be able to upgrade stuff. So yeah, this is my build, and let me show you some action with this. I can show you what it's like. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, what I like to do with my AoE side, I like to use my destruction. I like to use Elemental Storm. So much better as an AoE. That thing is godly, especially if you're hurting up, let's say Skyreach or something. This thing is a must-have in the tray because this thing will proc off. You can cast it multiple times. That's how insane it is. Especially if you have the Fighters Guild, which if you have Fighters Guild, you need to have points in Banish the Wicked because if you're doing Skyreach, for example, those are undead, so you'll be getting so much ultimate every time you kill something. So it's insane. Like you can prop down this ability like 2 times per mob. It's like out of this world. So yeah, so let's get to showing you some action, and I'll show you some Skyreach too. Okay, so I made it to my favorite spot here. Let me show you what this is like out here. Pretty much all you need to do is just do Betty Match, and then you're gonna do 2 light attacks to get the buff from the Molag set, that monster set. So I'll just do this, do 2 light attacks, and then spam bird. And watch this. Oh, 20,000. Oh, boom. Get out of here. Fucking, it does so much damage. It's so fucking insane. Like, watch. I'm just gonna put the bees on him. Watch the damage from the bees. Look at that. 6,000 it hit for. That's from a crit. Look at that. The damage is just so insane. And this actually spreads off to multiple mobs. That's why I like Growing Swarm a lot. Does so much damage. And you could pretty much kill everything just from that. And a lot of times when I'm pulling Skyreach, for example, it would do... it would just proc off to all of the mobs. And mobs will actually be dying before I even pull them to the spot I want to kill them at. So it's so good. And then also the Deep Fisher, watch how this goes. This thing is pretty sick too. Boom, 22,000. I pop my buff. Look at that. Oof, get out of here. That, you see that? That's what makes this insane, especially if you're gonna be PvPing. This is the line you want to be doing. You do these, you're gonna be doing some insane damage. I've already played around with it a bit, and it's pretty freaking nice. I mean, compared to my sorcerer, I wouldn't. I really. I don't know. I don't know how to compare that because the sorcerer is just so easy mode. But I'm trying really hard to make this like my sorcerer because I don't really like playing my sorcerer that much. I feel like it's too easy. So now let's go into Skyreach so you can actually see what Skyreach is like. Okay, before I show the rest of this, I forgot to mention that I was using Retro Staff on my other build if you saw that. Usually in Retro Staff, I would be popping regenerating growth. That way I can kind of have some kind of ticking of a heal going on while I'm hurting the mobs because in between the shield breaking, you're going to be taking damage, of course. I nearly die in this, and it's because I didn't have any healing ability on me. If you don't want to use Retro Staff, I recommend you putting leeching vines in the tray, at least in one of the trays. It doesn't matter which one. Leeching vines is very important to keep you alive during Skyreach. Oh, of course somebody wants to be my friend. They saw me walk into Skyreach. Okay, let's do this shit. Let me show you what it's like. I'm just gonna herd up my typical herd, but I'll go all the way to the right side and just pull everything. So I'm in my lightning staff tray right now. This is pretty much the only tray you want to be in when you're doing this. And yeah, let's do this. So just spam the beetles on everything. Because you know how this thing spreads? It's actually really freaking good, man. This thing does so much damage. Once it spreads to everything. Ugh. The fears in this thing. I haven't done Skyreach in a while. It's been a minute since I've done this. Alright, watch this shit. Now they're all gonna die. Well, everything actually survived. I'm surprised. Surprised you guys survived. See, and already you see how that thing is already back? Oh shit. Oh shit. Hold on a second. What the fuck is killing me? Looks like I needed some practice before I came in here. Forgot how to play this game. Actually, I haven't played this character in a while. I've been playing my Nightblade a lot. So, I just logged into this to do this video, but there we go. It's pretty much, it was pretty easy for the most part, as long as you keep the bugs on everything. If you don't keep the bugs on everything, then you're not going to get healed as much. Probably will end up dying too. But boom, there it is. I really like this build a lot. And if you liked the video, hit a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. And I'll see you in the next one. Later, guys.